Hi Jill, this is your solar return reading. So you sent me your birth date and time, which is August the 16th of 1978 at 11:16 p.m. in Staten Island, New York. And so this is the birth chart here, and I'm going to send these as attachments as well, so just so you have a copy of your birth chart. And then this is the solar return chart here. So a solar return chart is, just to explain first, the birth chart is the moment of your birth when you were born, all of the planets, where they were in the sky, what signs they were in, and then each of these pieces here is called a house. So there's 12 pieces of the pie, otherwise known as houses, and each of them refers to a different area or aspect of your life. I'm just gonna move this to see if we can get some of that glare off. Okay, and then we have over here your solar return chart. And your solar return is taking that same moment, that 11:16 p.m. on August the 16th, but for this year, 2019. And what we do is we compare the two to see what kind of themes, what overall themes are going on for you this year. So, just gonna get rid of that. Okay, there we go. So it shows you what your overall themes are for the year. So first of all, the first thing that I look at is I try to find what we call the Time Lord. Each year has a planet that is more active or more important than the other planets. For you, you've turned 41 years of age this year. And so at 41 years, it shows that this is what's called the sixth house here. This particular piece of the pie becomes extremely important in this year. And the planet that's the most important is Venus. Venus rules Libra. Libra is the sign that rules your sixth house. So that's a lot of jargon, but what does that mean? Basically what that means is the sixth house rules things like work, day-to-day routines, pets, health issues, and so it shows that those are really issues that are going to be highlighted this year. So you're really going to be thinking a lot about your day-to-day routines, maybe mixing them up. You might be thinking about your job, what kind of job you want to do, what kind of service you want to be to the world. And so you're going to be adjusting, like, how do I want the structures of my life to look? Now, you can see here that Libra is the sign that starts at the start of the sixth house. So this piece of the pie here, this is considered the start. Libra is the sign. And Venus is the planet that rules Libra. And so that's how we know that Venus is going to be a very important planet for you this year. So any transits that occur in the sky, any movement that occurs in the sign of Venus, you're probably going to feel it stronger than others this year. And Venus rules things like beauty and art and creativity and also romance. And so these are themes as well that are going to crop up this year. They're going to be very important for you. And as we go through this, I've seen that creativity is actually a really big theme for you for this year. And by year, I mean from your birthday, August 16th, to your next birthday next year in 2020. So Venus, keep in mind, is going to be a pretty important planet for you this year. So now let's go through each planet one by one and take a look at how each of them is affecting you this year. So of course we start with the sun. The sun always returns to the same point on your birthday. So it's at 23 degrees of Leo here on your birthday or when you were born, and 23 degrees of Leo again over here on this chart. So it doesn't really change because from your birthday year to year, it comes back to the same point. So that doesn't really change. But what does change is sometimes the houses shift slightly, but for you it hasn't. This is what we call the fifth house here, the fifth piece of the puzzle. And so it's shown that you've always had a focus towards creativity, towards children, towards having fun, things like that. And over here it says that particular focus isn't going to change. Now, for you, you may have always in your life identified a little more with your moon sign than your sun sign. And the reason for that is people who are born at night, so people who are born between sundown and sun up of the next day, often have a strong affinity with their moon sign. So you are a Leo. Leos are very outgoing. I'm a Leo as well. So we're outgoing. We're very generous. We are very sensitive too. We don't like to show our sensitivity, but it is there. We like to be the life of the party and sometimes the center of attention. We're very flamboyant and very out there. But this moon sign showing that you actually have a very sensitive heart, and that you tend to, when you are upset, to withdraw a little more and to really think about things. For you, you like to sit and process things, and it takes you a while to process your emotions. And so you need a little bit more time by yourself than perhaps other Leos might. And that's something that's a general type trait for you. So sun doesn't really change this year. Most of the times it doesn't anyway. Same with what we call the ascendant. That's this line here. This is like the horizon line. This is sun up and this is sunset. So this is the horizon line here. And yours is at Taurus, both this year and that's not really going to change because the time doesn't really change. The only time it would change is if you move somewhere very different. So there's not a lot of difference between New York and New Jersey, latitude or longitude rise, a little bit, but not much. But if you were, say, to move to like Europe or to Asia or something, this line here might change. But because you haven't, let me put that back, that remains the same. So you have your ascendant in Taurus, so your ascendant or rising sign, sometimes called that. And so you tend to come across to people as somebody who is, first of all, Taurus has a lot of beauty with it. So there's, Taurus is also ruled by Venus. Venus is very strong in your chart, both this year and overall. So Venus, you're very happy in a Venus year. So things like beauty. So you come across as very beautiful, but it's like an earthy kind of beauty. You're very down to earth. Taurus rising people tend to come across as quite motherly as well, or comforting. People find a certain sense of comfort with you, that they can be real, that they can be themselves. Your ascendant rules sort of the way you look, but it's also about the way you present yourself, your first impressions with people. You often come across to people as well as being measured, where you tend to like to think about things. You don't jump to conclusions. You take your time with doing things. Maybe people think you're introverted, but when they get to know you, then they see the Leo side and they see that you're more extroverted than maybe they originally thought they were. So again, that remains the same for this year. Next, we look at the moon, and the moon moves very fast around the sky. It goes all through the zodiac every 28 days. So the moon is where we first start to really see changes in a solar return chart. Now, your moon on your birth chart is in Aquarius, and like I said, this makes you, emotionally, because moon is our emotions and how we deal with stress, how we deal with problems. It's also our subconscious. For you, it's in the 10th house at your birth, which means that you need to feel emotionally satisfied with your work. You need to feel that you are making a difference in the world, that you are doing work that is that means something, that's emotionally satisfying for you. And also, when you do have a stressful time, you like to think about it, you like to process it. You might do this through journaling, you might do this through sometimes a counselor, but I think it's more you just process it internally. However, this year it's showing that the moon is in Pisces, and this is making you much more sensitive. You were already a sensitive person, but it's showing that this is making you much more sensitive this year. You might feel more emotional. You might feel like your moods are going up and down. However, it's also making you more intuitive. You're really tapping in this year to that psychic part of you. Your dreams may be this year quite memorable, where you're starting to remember more dreams. There's a lot more symbolism in them. You're picking up a lot more. You're feeling more empathic this year. This is a year where your sensitivities are really going to be developed. And it's shifted into what we call the 11th house here, this particular piece of the pie, which is all about, it's all about our acquaintances, our friends, our community groups, that kind of thing. And so you're going to be more emotionally involved with your friends and your community. So as much as you are, you have this sort of like introverted side, or this side that wants to, kind of have some downtime, there's a sense where you feel like, I need to get involved. I need to be connected to people around me. You might be, because it's hooked up here with Neptune, you're going to be involved more this year in spiritual groups or spirituality that's in a group setting. You might be actually leading initiating a group, or you might be joining a group of some kind. And it may not be something formal, but it may be just getting together with people. But there's a sense that you feel like you have, you might want to connect more with people who are on the same level as you spiritually. There's a desire to connect this year in that area. So that's what I'm seeing here for your moon. Now, next we look at Mercury. And for you, Mercury, at your birth, Mercury was in Leo and in the 5th house. It's still in Leo here, but it's shifted into the 4th house. So what that means is 5th house, again, is creativity, children, hobbies, romance. And so you've always been really good at communicating in a creative way. So you may have, when you were young, you may have been someone who wrote stories or poetry or songs, but really good at communicating through artistic and creative ways. It shows here this year there's a bit of a shift where you're talking more about home and family. So there may be a lot of talk around things like things that are happening with your parents. There may be more communication with parents, with grandparents, or people from your past, people from your family, from that genetic line, or even just maybe talking about ancestry, that kind of thing. There's more talk in that area. This could also be as well talking about actually, I'm sorry, that goes off every so many seconds. There may be more talk as well about, moving house or renovating home, but I don't see so much action, especially at the beginning of the year. It may be more just talking about it and thinking about plans, that kind of thing. So that's going to be a theme for you this year. The next one that we look at is Venus. And like I said, Venus is going to be pretty prominent this year. Any transits that occur with Venus you're going to feel them strongly. So for example, Venus moves into Scorpio today when you receive this particular video. And so you're gonna feel that energy. Venus is very happy in Libra, but when she goes in, which is your birth, she's here in Libra at your birth. And it's interesting, Venus rules Libra, also rules Taurus. So Venus is strong in your chart anyway, but it's showing that this year it's going to be quite strong as well. So Libra energy is very much, Venus in Libra is about getting along with others, being harmonious, wanting things to be beautiful, wanting things to be just peaceful and nice for people, not rocking the boat. And here it shows that it's shifted a bit. It's gone from the 6th house here, which is about work and day-to-day organization and life, and it's shifted into the 5th house, which really shows me that creativity is going to be huge for you this year. You're really going to be focusing on how can I make more beauty in my life? How can I be more creative? How can I bring some artisticness, some creative expression to my life? This is also good for romance as well. So it's showing that, there's more romance in partnerships. There's more of an emphasis on that. You're wanting to have more beauty in your life. This can also be very much about children as well, because we have both Mars and Venus here, which has to do with, male and female energy, sexuality, working together. And so there is, there is a fertility possibility in here. Now, I always say possibility because you always have free will. The chart shows you trends and it shows you energies and how they're working, but you always have free will. And so it's saying that that's a possibility, but it's up to you what you do with that. So with anything, it's always up to you, but it's kind of like showing you the weather. So I think, hey, it's going to rain today, or there's a 50% chance of rain. I could take an umbrella or I could not take an umbrella, right? And that's the same thing with these kind of possibilities. But what it is showing me is that there is an awful lot of creative energy going on for you this year. And you're trying to find a way to express that, to put that out into the world. You just want more creative energy in your life. Now I have limitations on this camera, so I'm gonna, this is part 1, and then we're gonna move to part 2 and we're gonna start to talk about the planet Mars.